First of all, thanks to Grow Green for having me and the killer expo that they have today. Which button do I push, just so I know?
The right arrow.
Okay, so trimming sucks. Everyone probably agrees with that, right? So I wanted to start with that slide, obviously. So like Tony said, I'm one of the directors of Twister. We're the oldest trimmer company in the industry. We're in business for over 10 plus years. Got a lot of knowledge behind that, and we're known as the Bentley or Ferrari of trimmers. We paved the way for that. We constantly innovate. So first I'm going to touch on the automation. So, in big picture of this industry as a whole, automation is where it's going. I want people to embrace automation. Don't think it's the big bad wolf. Any industry, across any sector, any production facility, they embrace the automation. That could be from blueberries to tulips, all the way to big machinery, right? Like any Toyota or anything like that. It just streamlines efficiencies across the board. And when this market matures and cannabis becomes saturated, the price of cannabis will come down. And the only way that you guys can costly produce cannabis that's affordable is with automation. And I'm not talking about just trimmers, I'm talking about in general, right? So it's economies of scale, right? So that's to my next point, economies of scale. When you're harvesting any size of decent sized production facility, the only way to actually harvest it and be cost efficient is with automation, right? So it's just not economical and feasible to trim hundreds of pounds without having any kind of automated trimmer, right? And we can look at the ROI on this. So even at a small scale, right, with two people hand trimming, so if you're trimming two of you, husband and wife, if you're trimming your farm, you have 72 plants, and there's two of you, 8 hours, you're trimming about 2 pounds in a day, maybe 3 to 4 tops if you're a veteran, right? But 2 pounds in a day. Now, with a smaller machine, you can do 14 pounds trimming dry in 2 hours. So yeah, that's with only two of you. So you guys have to look at the ROI. It's not just a matter of how fast you can trim that, but it's about what are you doing with your time in your life, right? Like, if you have children, does any of you guys have children out there and you're sacrificing the time with your children, or you're sacrificing the time with each other, with your husband or your wife, or going out to the bar with your buddies? Like, that's the time that you get back in your life by having an automated trimmer. Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit that there's sacrifices that you make. No matter what, no trimming machine will replace hand trimmers. I'll be the first one to admit that, and if anyone tells you otherwise, it's not true. But there are a lot of advantages by having an automated trimmer that outweigh the little sacrifice that you make by having one, right? So just to give you guys a little bit of education on trimmers, there's really two different styles of trimmers on the market. There's a batch style, that's that top-loaded style, kind of like washing machine, top-loaded, right? And then there's the tumbler style, which is the throughput machine. So the batch style, the biggest differences between these, I got a couple bullet points on there, but to summarize, the biggest difference between these two, the batch style machine does not have any blades. So it is only a dry trimmer. And without having blades, you have to have the moisture content down to about 7 or 8% is what they recommend, which is extremely, extremely dry. Anyone that has, harvested and dried product, 7 to 8% is too dry for my personal liking, for most people's likings. With a tumbler style trimmer, the throughput style, you have optimal for dry trimming is about a 12 to 13%. So you actually don't degrade the flour as much as what you would, and it won't crumble, right? So it won't turn to dust. Another thing is the batch style machine, depending on the brand and depending on the size of the machine, it'll be in there anywhere between 5 to 25 minutes. So on a points of contact, how much time it's spending in there, you want your product least handled as possible. you want it going through your machine, through hands, human hands, or through your machine as quick as possible. In a batch style machine, being in there 5 to 25 minutes, as opposed to a tumbler style machine, which is in there between 30 seconds to a minute. So that's another thing. When you have that throughput machine, that's the ideal situation. I'm going to get to a couple points coming up, but essentially those are the two biggest things. Scalability, the last one, is there's no way to really scale a batch style machine. When you're doing 5 to 10 pounds, yeah, that works great. You can put it in there for 20 minutes and then go get a sandwich. But if you're doing anything more than that, there's no way to actually efficiently scale your harvest with that. So if you're doing anything above 10 pounds, the most efficient way is having that single piece flow, that throughput style machine. So this is segueing into my next point, which is the single piece flow. So I don't know if you guys, any of you guys out there understand what single piece flow is, but it's a lean manufacturing methodology. So it basically just means it's constantly going through in the single piece flow, like with a conveyor style system. So every big production facility globally, from Boeing to Toyota to even Subway sandwiches, which is people can relate to, they move it along single piece flow. It's not done batch style, and that allows for the most efficient way to any kind of production globally. Like that's been proven. I can tell you from experience on the lean manufacturing principles, because we believe in it, that we used to do our control boxes for our T4. We used to do a batch style. So we used to get each individual person working on our control boxes, and we would have 6 people working on an 8-hour shift, and we would get 20 control boxes. We moved to lean manufacturing principles, and now we have 4 people working on it, and we get twice as many control boxes in a day. So it's all about that efficiencies of single piece flow. So here's a slide that I think that people will appreciate, the ROI on things, right? So here we have, if you are dry trimming a 200-pound harvest, you would require 200 people a day if you're doing a pound a day. So at 8 hours, $25 an hour, you're looking at a $40,000 trim bill for 200 pounds. With a T4 system, with triple T4 system, with 10 people, you can, because for pre-bucking, right? You'll be able to trim through 200 pounds in an 8-hour shift, and your investment is only $21,000. So with those additional people, 7 people bucking or 8 people bucking and 2 operators, that's $2,000 in labor. So your total trim bill on 200 pounds of harvest will be $23,000 basically. So every following harvest, so not only are you saving $17,000 the first harvest, but every single following harvest, you would save over $40,000 or relatively $40,000. So it's significant over time. And if, like I said before, when this market becomes saturated and your cost of cannabis comes down, the only way to return an ROI and a profit is to embrace the automation. And it's all about getting that trusted partner in a good trimmer or any kind of automation that you can rely on. So, this should work, right? Yeah. The T4 is the most popular out of the group. Now, I don't know. Is there a video here? Okay, there was a good video there. Never mind, there was a good video there. It's all good. It is on YouTube, yeah. Yeah, Okay, I'll skip that. I'll get that on the end. So that video would explain a little bit more about our trimmers and experience from some growers that were interviewed on YouTube. So I can get into our product. So our product is one of the only trimmers on the market that leads the way with wet and dry machines. So again, back to the tumbler style machines. Those are top loaded. They're only dry. They don't have any blades, so they're not able to trim wet. Ours has the technology where you can just insert the different tumbler so you can take it out and you can swap out. So a lot of people are converting from wet trim to dry trim, and if you're not at that stage yet, you can buy and purchase a Twister T4, for instance, buy a wet one, and once you do, or you wanted to experiment trimming dry, all you would have to do is swap out the drum. So it's just an interchangeable part. One big thing is what we pride ourselves in. It's high performance, low maintenance. We've been in business for 11 years, close to 11 years, and we have guys running our machines for 8+ years now. So literally the same machine. So this is an investment. When you do look to purchase any kind of trimmer, just understand the quality of the build, because every single trimmer, when they leave the shop, Grow Green, they're all going to be working and functioning, right? But are they going to be functioning 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years later? That's where you have to depend on quality of a machine, right? You know, you don't want to buy a cheap car. You want to buy a decent car that's reliable, and that's what we pride ourselves in. So we're to touch on that, we're built to last. We stand behind our product. We have a 3-year warranty with an extended 2 years, so a 5-year warranty total. And it's all about the companies that are behind their product and have the infrastructure to support it. Because we've been in the industry for so long, then we have every single part that you would need on your machine to get going if something was to go wrong. So harvest time is the most essential, and you got to be able to have those machines working. Yeah. So the question was, will you lose any potency compared to hand trim? So to touch on that, we have multiple. So in Canada, for instance, there's 40 big commercial facilities in Canada. We're in 28 of them out of 40. Okay, there's no other. I think there's 1 or 2 other trimmers in the odd facility, but we're in majority of the facilities up there. They've all done lab results, and they all chalked up. A lot of them that we went in there, and they said that they weren't going to purchase our trimmers until we got until they got feedback from the lab. It is plus or minus 1% difference between hand trim. It is negligible. We 1% plus or minus 1%. Difference. So it is negligible. I've seen results where there's 3 different batches, and all 3 batches different strains. Each batch was divided in half hand trim, half wet trim. They did the results. 2 out of the 3 came back higher 1%, and then 1 came back lower by 1%, and that was the hand trim. So we are like. It was a random sample, but negligible in the big picture. It's more the efficiency. So they chalked it up as negligible. It was more the efficiency. They found it was like 12 times more efficient, right? And just the cost is sheer savings, right? That one facility that I'm referring to, they had 180 employees, and they ended up laying off 60 people following that. Yeah. So you can think about your grow and how that relates to you and the actual cost of the production, what you can get down and what your return would be, right? We're all in it for the medicine and for business as well, perhaps. And that's what you got to look at, right? Tech support, customer service, one thing that we really pride ourselves in, it's really critical. We have a 7 to 7, like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. We want you guys in good hands and in running, so that's a big differentiator between our company and most, right? Being available around the clock, any kind of troubleshooting, it's key. So often imitated, never duplicated. So this is a tagline that we have. There's several machines over the course of 11 years that have followed suit. God bless them. Like, good for them. There's room in the market for other trimmers. We don't knock on any other ones. There is many that have copied us, and you just got to do your due diligence on the machine itself, and then understand if they have that kind of support. Because again, a machine that is not running is costing you money, right? So just ensure that you have the support behind the product to ensure if your machine does go down, that you can get it fixed in time, right? Portability, versatility. major component for our machines. The T4 was one of our staple products. We launched that about 2.5 years ago. As you can see, really portable, versatile. You can scale it. You can be from the small home grower all the way to a big commercial facility. You can scale that by putting them in tandem. So you can increase your output by putting them back to back. So you can go from 4 pounds an hour to 9 pounds an hour. If you have 3 in a row, 15 pounds an hour if you're trimming wet. Trimming dry, very similar. One machine will do 7 pounds an hour. 2 back-to-back will do 16 pounds an hour. 3 back-to-back will do 25 pounds an hour. So you can be that small guy. You can grow and just basically add an additional machine to that. One thing that we are big advocates of, we listen to our people, we get the feedback. That's what separated us from a lot of the other trimmers and other companies in the industry. It's getting that feedback and innovating. Recently, we just released something called the Trim Saver. So we heard in the marketplace that people were using more trim. They're blasting that. It's a return up for them, right? And we wanted to be able to innovate something that could preserve that trim so it's much more usable when you're blasting. And we developed the Trim Saver, which circumvents the whole impeller. So the trim is usable on our machines, but it's much more usable with this accessory. It basically circumvents the impeller so it doesn't chop it up as much. So there's less leaf matter in the extracts. So this is something we just released. I'm proud to release about 2 months ago. Oh, Michigan, we love you guys. This is a really cool slide that we have the biggest interest in dealer network in Michigan. We have 108 dealers out here. We really thank you guys for standing behind us. You guys are our 3rd biggest market and our biggest dealer market in the US. So you guys all kick ass. We really, really appreciate Michigan out here. Woo, woo. Just grow better, trim better. We're here. We're here for any answers. We got a booth outside. Jocelyn is repping the booth. Really, it's all about getting educated. The stigma of trimmers and how it beats up your bud. It's typically a misuse, and it's because there's been so many bad trimmers over the years, right? So we're one of the few companies that have still remained in the industry for all these years. There used to be several that came out about 8 years ago, and they've now gone because they're just not a quality trimmer, and they don't have that support to support the end user, right? So just remember that automation is your friend, and that it's all about getting educated on the company behind that you're looking to invest with, because if they're in it to support you in the long haul, you'll end up winning, okay? And I had a video, I don't know if it's available or not. One second. Yeah. Do I have to push play? One second. Is there volume? No volume here, but basically I wanted to show you a facility in Spokane, Washington. So they had 8 of our trimmers, and they came down, I think they were coming down with 25,000 pounds in one harvest. Yeah, so basically it's just basically impossible to come down with at one time, right? And it allowed him to harvest more. See, this is the thing, it depends on your needs, but it allowed him to harvest more before he got bud rot, right? So, his ability, he weighed it out. He's like, I can either do hand trimmers and trim down, 3/4 of my crop, or I can do machine trim and trim down everything that's available before it goes rot, right? Because as soon as the weather changes, you're going to have to harvest that right away, right? So that's some of the touching points that we were talking about on this video. Unfortunately, we don't have sound on it, but you can see from the video, like this is trimming wet, right? So that those flowers still have to dry, but it's, really to the visual eye, once it dries, it's very, very insignificant bag appeal compared to hand trim. So yeah, every one of these setups was trimming about 14 pounds an hour. That's dried weight, but each one. So he was with 8 machines, he was doing over 60 pounds an hour was what he was harvesting. Awesome. Yeah, you guys can see a bunch of videos on YouTube under Trim Theory or under Twister Trimmer. Thank you so much, guys.